Over the years of making these videos, doing lapidary work, I've engaged with a lot of you here. And well, there's two machines that are kind of very popular and very synonymous with lapidary, and that is the flat lap, like that thing right over there, and cabochon machines. The six-wheeled machines where it's, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. Think your Cab Kings, Kingsley, Diamond Pacific, all the big manufacturers make their own flavor of the six-wheeled cab machine. I'm of the opinion that for most people, that flat lap or the cab machine, which I don't have one here, is not the machine for you to get started with. I think the machine for you to get started with is one of those right over there, and that is a big two-wheeled arbor. Now hear me out. In this video, we're going to be fully restoring this arbor, putting it back into use, and you're going to be able to follow along and find one of these yourself. It's going to be much more affordable, and we're going to hop right into that, but not before you hear my arbor sales pitch. This here is my first big arbor project. I did all this sheet metal work myself. The pan is a big industrial cake pan, and it is a old lower tone NS8 arbor raised up on a block. And here we have two very squishy, you see them there, wheels. These are expandable drums. They're 3 inches wide. On these expandable drums, you can do something like put in a silicon carbide belt on it. This belt, I think it's $3.75, and they do last a fair amount of time. If you want to do something a little nicer, you can put a diamond belt on it. This is a diamond belt that I made a couple of years ago. This happens to be a 14,000 grit. I have a video up on it, and this is still going good. I believe it was $22 to make this from scratch, and then of course you can recoat it. Doing that allows you to have a big wheel that you can make cabochons on. You can also just cut and polish flats. It is a more versatile wheel size and very, very squishy and very nice. And I think for most people, the arbor allows you to make some cabochons, cut and polish bigger things, thunder eggs, agates, jasper, stuff like that. You have a ton of room to work around the wheels without your knuckles hitting the adjacent wheel like you do on a cab machine. And if you're willing to put in the time to build something like this, you will be far happier in the long run, I believe. So don't get me wrong. I think a six-wheel cab machine definitely has its place. If you want to make jewelry, cabs primarily, like whatever, agates, turquoise, things like that, and you want to kind of don't do a production setup where you're just like, oh, I want to make a cab, and then like you see it through to the end, and then you do something with that one cab. I think that is a fantastic use for all of those machines. I know people that make cabs and sell them kind of as a more, somewhere between like side hustle and professional, and they have two arbors. If you're going to be doing that kind of level of production, having something that you do in batches, like you're not doing the one cab, you're doing like 30 at 80 grit, 30 at 220 grit, and on and on and on. Perhaps a big arbor would be a nicer thing for you to work on, and they can be more affordable to run. So that's my pitch. Now, don't get me wrong as well. If you have the money for a machine like this is probably a great machine. This is the Kingsley North 8-inch stainless steel cab machine. I think it is great. I've heard nothing but good things from people. I know people that have it and love it, and it's $2,500. It's $2,500. Now, I don't have $2,500 just to be like, if I had $2,500 to blow on something, I'm buying a new camera. So let's talk about some money. Let's talk about money. I bought this at the Flag Gem and Mineral Show for $70. That's what this arbor is here, $70. This 3/4 horsepower motor, I bought it on Facebook Marketplace for $100. And you can't find a motor. Well, you can get like the El Cheapo Vivor motors for like $150. This is going to be a hard thing for you to find. This is a whole project here. This whole project is more of a, once you acquire all the parts, you're going to assemble it. It's not a add to cart and check out simplicity. Virtually nobody is making these anymore. Covington's making some arbors, but you're going to have to track one of these guys down. So this arbor is from a company that I really have never heard of. And when I bought this at the show, I was like, wait a second, who even makes this? This is from a company called Scott Murray Lapidary out of Seattle, Washington. And they were kind of in business, I think, from 1955 to the mid-70s at some point. And I was able to confirm that by, well, I started by finding an ad on WorthPoint of an archived eBay listing where you can see the sticker that was on this, and sure enough, that is in fact the, well, that's this arbor right here. So that was kind of the start of it for me. And then I went and grabbed a lapidary journal and looked in the back of the lapidary journal. Oh, that doesn't want to come out. Looked in the back of the lapidary journal for the advertisers and found a ad for Scott Murray. And sure enough, this is listed as one of their products in one of their ads. So we have a Scott Murray arbor here, which probably has never been shown on the internet outside of some eBay listings. We're going to take this thing apart. We're going to clean it up, and we're going to get everything. Oh gosh, that doesn't want to come out. Everything all squared away for it and make this a great future machine out here in the shop. Oh my God, that is some of the fun of taking apart a super old machine. Is you're like the first one probably to have done it. There we go. And yeah, you know, that's the way it goes. This machine in particular looks relatively unused, and I can tell because this pulley that's in the back is a die cast, and this looks totally unused. This middle one, the bearings don't feel too bad, but we're going to probably replace them anyways. Replacing bearings is cheap insurance. You know, you don't want to, in my opinion, run old bearings. Well, we have this thing apart. That's the time to fix them, and that is the time to just replace things. Like, probably not going to reuse this step pulley. You're basically going to be running one speed, so why bother? And friends, don't let friends run die-cast pulleys. We're going to be running cast iron. The other thing is this, get all this junk off. The threads on this look to be in fabulous shape. So that is, oh, come on. That little spacer is on there pretty good. I'm gonna have to give it a little bit of a tippy tap. But the threads on here are looking pretty sweet and pretty good. And when you're looking at arbors, that's one of the things you want to look for is your pulley and these threads. If they're mushed or if they're in terrible condition, that means it was probably a very well-used machine, and that's not the case with this. Let's see what's going on in here. Oh, so cast aluminum. Pretty basic design. I don't know about these isolators or these bearings. We'll have to try to gingerly disassemble this and see what we have going on here. Got a couple of snap rings right there. Get those off and start disassembling. Got some collars. Get these off without launching them across the shop. or horrifically pinching myself. Oh, hey there. Not bad. I feel like this did more sitting than being used. Isolator, that doesn't seem too bad. Some of the isolators are a real beast to get off. We do have to get these bearings off, and of course the bearings are like they're like fused on there. They're fused on there. I have a thing though. I have a thing for that. So these bearings here, they don't seem like they're in too bad of a condition, but they got a little bit of play. Listen. We'll be changing those out. These are eccentric bearings. That means this collar, we have a set screw and hole. So the way these things work is there's like a, well, you know what? I'll just take one off and I'll show you. Okay, so let's loosen our set screws. Oh, geez. Oh, that's been a while. Loosen the set screw, and that turns and comes off, and now our bearing can move. I'm surprised how well that went. Sometimes these are like a exercise in frustration where you're spending a ton of time simply like soaking this stuff in penetrating oil to get these things moving. Yeah, these are going to be tough to come off. We might have to, we can try a bearing puller. This is one way to get these bearings off. Bearing puller. Let's try this. Now, the end that I'm working on, this shaft was clearly turned on something old. It looks like they definitely used like a live center or whatever to get the threads cut. Oh, that's tight as can be. Oh. So, bearing off. Not the most fun way to remove a bearing. Probably won't work on this or the next one. But I have a press now, and we might press this thing off. This is my little teeny tiny 12-ton hydraulic press. Am I going to start a budget hydraulic press channel? No. No, I am not. However, for things like this, I am finding it to be incredibly handy. Very, very, very handy because, well, it does things that are very hard to do otherwise. Hydraulic press is a nice shop tool for sure. I will say it's a lot more entertaining to watch a Swedish guy have a 100-ton hydraulic press and like smash, I don't know, funny things. Watching me crank my Harbor Freight one, but this makes such a big difference for these types of jobs. It is amazing, and I love this. Hey, look at that, look at that, very cool. A shop sink is like the best thing ever. Well, got some nice clean parts here. These are good. I don't like another person's dirt and grime, so those are good. Next up, the shaft. So we need to get all of this rust off. And the way we're going to do that is this, which is my new favorite product, is Vaporust. And we're going to put that in a PVC tube with an end cap, just like so. And then fill it up. And well, we're going to wait, and it'll burn off all of the rust, and we'll have a nice, beautiful, clean arbor. And in the meantime, I'm going to do some research on these bearings, and we're going to order up a new set of bearings for this thing. And we can kind of already focus on the reassembly. I think it's going to be pretty good. One of the things that I like about this is once you use it, gross. Once you use it, you can pour it back into the bottle. You're not like throwing it away each time. All right. And just like that, we'll come back in like 24 hours and we will check it. It should probably be good. And yeah, see you then. It has been 24 hours and let's see how we did for getting the rust off. Look at that. That is very rust-free. Very, very rust-free. I'm going to get this thing all washed up here. Not bad. Not done, though. You can see we're a little mushed up here in some spots. Kind of this dull gray here. I also threw in the nuts and the eccentric lock collars. But for now, we're going to take this and we're going to sand it some. Nothing too crazy. We're going to get all these rough spots off and shine it up. Nothing crazy. Just get through that kind of, I don't know, it's like an oxide coating, and we'll shine this up. I got some 80 grit here to get these burrs off, and then we'll do finer and finer. You don't gotta see that. You don't understand what silicon carbide is. A little bit of progress. Here is that shaft, all nice and shiny. This is gonna, of course, get oil so that it doesn't flash rust or anything like that. You can kind of see here, this end is just a solid end. And here we have an end that has some threads in there. It's really hard to see. Can some light help? No. Anyways, there's some threads in there, and I don't know what threads onto that. I have done all of the digging into the Lapidary Journal archive, looking at ads, old ads for these, looking at Worth Point. Nothing. I got nothing. So, never ever, under any circumstances, throw away any of these types of things. These are things, even if you don't think they're good, you're going to save them. Okay, so these are the lock collars that would go on the old bearings, right? These are going to get oiled and put in a Ziploc because I have new ones coming. Same thing with these bearings. Okay, on the bearing, it's ultra, ultra tiny. You can see some text, okay? Ordering bearings in 2025 is the most upsetting and frustrating thing imaginable. On there, it says FAFNIR. That is the name of the company who made these bearings originally. They're now owned by Timken. There's also a code on that bearing, RA012NPP2. Every bearing manufacturer, of course, has their own code system for what that means. The RA on the bearing in the series is the extended inner ring with a self-locking collar. So that implies with the type, this, right? The 012 is the size of the bearing. The NPP2 is for nitrite rubber lip seal, 2 seals on each side. Very frustrating. And of course, this is a very difficult bearing to find. I did manage to find it. This is, you can get a replacement bearing that matches this, that is made for a 1963 New Holland tractor. So I have some tractor bearings coming, and we'll get those replaced. That said, these things are going to get oiled up and saved. Same thing with these rubber isolators. These are still good. I cut some spacers for the wheels, and I pounded out the aluminum rings. Keep in mind these kind of go on the end here like that. So these are in good shape now. I might give them a little bit of a aluminum polish. The nuts, this kind of makes me crazy. It kind of breaks my brain when there's a lefty and a righty and they are not the same. So while we're on this topic, one of these sides, this side, is left-handed thread and this is right-handed thread. So that when it's turning like this, one side doesn't get loose. So you need a lefty nut for the left side. I did order some replacement pulleys. I got 2. This is the one with a 5/8, which will go on the motor side. This one is a 3/4, which goes on this shaft size. I do not see the need at all for variable step pulleys. I have a giant bin of them so that I don't know, I could just throw them away. This one, this ring got a little damaged when I forced it off. Yeah, these are not good. They'll cause slipping. They're just a cheap little die cast thing. Same as a Hot Wheel, not this. This is cast iron. This is gonna last forever. Another thing that you need to think about when looking for bearings is the metric and imperial problem. A lot of these companies, even good bearing manufacturers, have like a cheap line or whatever, and they lie and they'll say that something is imperial size when it is in fact a metric size. You know, like certain things like the difference between 1 inch and 1 inch, the 1 inch equivalent in metric might mean that you don't have compatibility. So they just kind of say things. This is my favorite stuff for protecting these things. So we'll put just a little bit on the paper towel and give these guys a little rub down here, and they will be good to pack away for a very long time. Now I said don't ever throw any of this stuff away. The reason for that, okay, the reason for that is you never know what the future is going to hold for your machines. Are these bearings going to be like some of the last of their kind? You know, weirder things have happened. If you find a good set of bearings that you're happy with, I suggest you shill out the money and you buy an extra set. Buy your next set, you know? Like, that's the ticket here. You don't want to be 5 years down the line and be like, oh, these are no longer made. These are impossible things to find. So it's good to have a backup and not ever have to stress over it. Well, getting all the dirty parts off of the threads. So bearings are on order, and now we just have to wait for these bearings to show up. Well, they're finally here. That took an extreme amount of time. I got these bearings, okay, PFI bearings, right? I believe these are American. There's what I'm going with, the part number. I had to get these all the way from France. The fact that you can't get a quality bearing here for a reasonable amount of price is crazy. I was able to get these shipped from France cheaper than I could get them, well, here locally, domestically in America. And of course, you know, they're stuck in customs for like forever. So let's put these on. Eccentric locks. Okay, so they go in like that. I'm just setting this here for, I guess, demonstration purposes. Then your bearings, because you know the bearings get their little isolator. That'll go on last. And then we'll set the eccentric locks. We're going to try to do this, line this up. They're going to be in here probably like that, something like that. And you set your lock in the direction of travel. We have a little hole here that we put our drift in and we pound it, and then set the set screw. Smooth, so smooth. Well, after a bunch of reassembly and kind of fiddling around, we are assembled, okay? And this is what that looks like. Okay, so the wheels, I already have these wheels. These are centered wheels, which are a little bit different. Most people don't run centered wheels, but since I already have the expandable drums, which are really like the best wheels to start with, I wanted a couple of hard wheels that I could do shaping on. So 140 and 220. You know, I'm not like a production cutter. I do this for fun, and I want something where 80 grit just can leave some like deep gouges sometimes. So I'm thinking 140, 220. Centered wheels. Now, I've used these. I would have to swap out the wheels on the other Arbor typically, I mean, to be completely honest, I might be just a little lazy, so that didn't end up happening a whole heck of a lot. These wheels, I purchased from Kingsley North back in 2022. I paid $206.25. I wrote that, they didn't. Now I believe they have them for $260, which is still probably like one of the best deals that you're gonna find on centered wheels. I mean, these are nice. Like you get this like big aluminum core. The centering is thick. Like when they say heirloom, like I think that's accurate. I think it's accurate. So pans and hoods. These are the pans and hoods that I already own. Now these are Lortone SS hoods and pans, stainless steel. So I'm going to run them. They're probably not going to be as good as the big setup, but this is like a rough shaping type setup, and it's not going to see a whole ton of use as opposed to a machine that you're going to be running up through 14,000 grit or whatever. So I think I can do a little bit of a mock-up here, and we'll see how they look. I think should be pretty good. This is how it's going to come together. I also have the original clips for these, and you can see what it's going to look like mocked up with the motor here. I didn't believe I mentioned 3/4 horsepower motor. I do have a video all about motors that you can go and watch. That is a much better resource here, and we'll be lined up with our pulley in there. I know it's dark, but the benches are 23.5 inches, and it's going to go right over there. This will be about 24 with a little lip. Drain the water here. Water feeds on top of the wheel. My one concern is this. My only concern with these hoods is overspray. So, you know, we're dropping water in here, it's coming down, we're gonna have some mist kind of rolling out, and usually you get water up in here and it drips down, it's just kind of a mess. So I did a little bit of CAD design, which is cardboard aided design, because I can't use the real stuff. So what I'm thinking is I put this in here like that, and that'll be my template to seal up that side and kind of enclose it some. That's probably the best I can do. Certainly won't hurt to do it, since these wheels are really never going to be coming off and the hood lifts up and down. So I have a piece of 14 gauge aluminum, and we'll cut out 2 pieces, one for each side, and that's probably how I'll roll with it. And if need be, we can always do an inside piece in the future, but I don't really think that's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. I made some off-camera progress. Here we are mocked up. You can see the little side pieces to help contain some of the water. The base is 2 pieces of 3/4 inch thick plywood glued together. Right now it's just raw, but we will be refinishing this. I love the way this looks. Like the green and gold with the silver, like I think this is a very lovely looking machine. I did do some layout already. We can see here in the back, I marked like the holes, for example, where I'm going to be drilling, but this just kind of gives a look and feel of how it's going to look. Obviously, the belt will be there, and then we'll have to build something to have a power switch that'll like mount up so that from the front, it can be easily like reached over and power on and off. So that's the idea here. Let's get this disassembled, and we'll start on mounting. So you can see in the front bottom part of the tray here that there is a little black plug. Now that little black plug typically is where you would have your drain coming out of. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to drain out the front of the tray. And these trays are not reversible. You can see we have the little notch here, which is where the splash shield connects into. We're going to be modifying these and draining out the back because that is, well, that's the best way to do it. Like, I have designed this shop with water in mind, drainage in mind, and we're gonna, motor's heavy, and we're gonna use it. We only need to drill 8 holes, 4 for mounting the motor and 4 for mounting the arbor. Probably, well, yeah, we'll start by drilling some little pilot holes here. Overall, I'm pretty happy. Once the holes are drilled, sand, stain, you know, clean up all this stuff. It'll look pretty sweet when done. I'm going to be mounting the motor in the arbor with 1/4-inch bolts. That's plenty. So I'm going to be drilling a 17/64 hole, and then there'll be a little bit of play, and it won't be, you know, you're not going to drill a 1/4-inch hole and really be able to get the bolts through with ease. Little bit of a detour. Guess what does not exist in small town Utah? That would be 2 1/4-inch long, 1/4-inch diameter stainless steel bolts. So we're going to be cutting off a little piece of a 2 1/2 and get our 2 1/4. This is the top side, and one of the benefits, well, there's a couple of benefits to it being so thick. That is, on the bottom here, we can use a paddle bit like this and open these holes up some to allow a washer and nut to recess on it. That will allow this thing to sit flush over there on the table. And we'll also be bolting this down to the table. So, real easy. You know, the washers are doesn't matter, 5/8 or something. So this 13/16 will open this. Nice. Open this up. Little crude, but it works. And then you can imagine here, like this little bolt that's going to go on here for the arbor is going to sit on there like that. And then we get our washer and our nut on here. And then it's recessed in and allows it to sit nice and flat on the bench. Now, doing woodworking is just kind of a necessary part of building these machines. I really actually like the different materials, it does kind of dampen down on the sound, but I do not enjoy anything. I don't like staining, I don't like painting, I don't like sanding. It is not the hobby for me. Working with dead tree carcasses is just that, an unfun but necessary task. Enough weight will flatten anything. I'm going to be putting a power twist belt here on the Arbor. If you're still running a standard rubber V-belt, well, you are missing out on life. Any type of lapidary machine will do far better with this power twist or knockoff power twist style belt. And if you're not familiar with these, they just basically have these links and you can disconnect them and make them whatever size you want. So this is really good for any type of project like this, where you're going to be, well, I guess for lack of a better term, having an indeterminate size. Like you don't exactly know what you're going to be having. So you just grab a pair of pliers and you can take this thing apart, and it works really well. I've been using these for years and I absolutely love them. Okay, well, so the belt is on. That's like the right amount of tension. I think everything's tight and looking good. Since we don't have a switch yet, I just got it plugged into a power strip over here. Let's see how it goes. Not bad. That is smooth. I'm going to run this for like a minute or so and make sure there's no kind of tension coming out of it. You know, once these things run a little bit, you might have to back that motor up and create a little bit more tension on it. We got nice wrap on the pulley. I'm sure that looks crazy on camera. Oh man. Those wheels have some momentum. Yeah, so that definitely loosened some, you know, when you're kind of pulling the tension out of these things for the first time. So I'll probably loosen this and kind of back it up a little bit. That's a little much for the slack. Ugh. Hey. Well, one of the beautiful things about this design is, well, I'm going to screw this down to the bench, but check it out, okay? With the pans and hoods, they're kind of like independent, right? This is going to get mounted up here and can easily be removed for cleaning. And the same thing with the other side. Like if you ever want to do a deep clean on these and get them looking nice, I don't have to disconnect all this stuff. It can just come off like that. The next step is accomplishing the water drain system. I have some silicone tubing. I have everything here. So one of the problems that you have is with mixed metals, so aluminum and copper, and combining them, essentially fusing them together, because you're not welding them. Generally, it will be brazing, and that's what we're going to be doing next. This is a very easy process. Not my original idea, but what we have over here is the intarsia machine. This is the Al Sisona intarsia machine, and you can see we have a aluminum tray here, and we have a piece of copper coming out of it, which goes into the drain line. The thing is, how are you going to connect these two? That's how you do it. you braze. You braze, you don't weld, you braze. I guess you could stick it through and try to goop some type of temporary product on there, but that's not ideal. As with all things like this, it's good to do a test piece. Here's my test piece of aluminum with some copper, and I learned a couple of things in this process because this is new to me. I then did one tray, and you can see how this looks here. Okay, so the idea is that the silicone tubing is going to fit over this with a hose clamp, and we're pretty good here, right? Like that's not bad. Not bad at all. And then that still gives room, and we can slide it under the arbor. So this one, we're going to be doing back here on this corner. The brazing rods are copper braze, whatever you want to call it. We're going to cut a little 1-inch section of copper tubing here. This. So I guess this is originally kind of intended to be used as, I don't know, like some type of HVAC thing, like where you have like aluminum tubing and you're connecting your copper tubing to it. At least that's what I understand it to be. I mean, who actually knows? Everybody's an expert, but yeah, if you've never done anything like this, I mean, you can get a piece of copper tubing at like Home Depot or whatever, and a little, it's hard to do it, trying to hold it, and a little mini pipe cutter, okay? And we'll cut our little 1-inch piece here. Not bad. The beauty of these brazing rods is that they already have the flux in them. So all we're going to do is we're going to use standard kind of propane torch and heat this thing up. Not too hot, we don't want to melt it. I have this little rod, and I'll get a second one ready just in case I need it. I don't think I'm gonna, but you know, better to have it and not need it than the other way around. Gonna walk around the tripod. I believe we got that. Nice. I think that's pretty good and sealed up. Maybe a little more on the back. I'll grab the next rod. We'll let that cool. And we'll test it. See what that looks like. You know, it's not a high pressure system, right? We are just trying to make it so that water doesn't leak out from around it, and I think this accomplishes that. I did check it. It does hold water. You know, I think it should be obvious to you that I think it's valuable to do things like this, to have an in-depth understanding of the machines that you have. It is just, well, it makes the whole lapidary experience, in my opinion, significantly more rich. And if you agree with me, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And there's a link down to Patreon if you like this type of long form educational content. Well, that's the best place to support it. This is a PEX fitting, and I'm going to be repurposing it here because we want one tray to feed into the other tray and then kind of one drain line for the two trays. So that's the idea. Try to shove this thing on there. Yeah. There we go, like that. I got the trays all attached with their clips. Very nice. You can see here that drain coming out of the back of that tray and how it tees in, and it runs through this, and this is going to go down to my drain, which we'll do that here next. However, real quick, these are two tools that I love. If you're unaware, if you do not have the little right angle impact driver, so this goes on to the end of a impact wrench like this, and this allows you to get in there and get at something. I just used it for this tight little location to screw that screw in. Probably could have done it by hand, but it is certainly a sweet little tool to have out here in the shop. And lastly, if you are unaware of Knipex, specifically this one, you can focus? Yeah, that one right there. You are missing out on life. An adjustable plier where the jaws stay totally parallel with this like cool mechanism. You can use this for all kinds of things. And unlike it, I can't do this left-handed. Unlike a normal, I mean, look at that. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. We have Imperial on one side, Metric on the other. Yeah, must-haves. I love them. I get nothing. Maybe I'll put a link down below. You can go click it. I'll get 1/100th of a penny. So let's tie this into the plumbing. There's the hole from the top of the bench that goes, well, under the bench, and you can see all my utilities and stuff. And that piece of PVC pipe there is how I drain everything, all my machines. Now, if you're not familiar, if you didn't watch the shop building video, well, then you wouldn't know that this is a very purpose-built drain system. Everything is designed so you can put rock sludge down it. This actually just leads outside the building and drains out where the gutters drain out, and it works out totally fine. So it's just a normal piece of PVC pipe. I know it's difficult to see in here. The way I do this is I just drill a 1/2-inch hole in here and shove the pipe in it, and then I secure this flexible line with hot glue, and it works out great. So yeah, time to climb in here. Let's go. We can go right like this, and we'll kind of zip tie these guys together, I think. You know, it can go like right there maybe. That'll probably be good. Once again, step bit. Step bits are the best. Perfect. Just like that, and I'll secure that with some hot glue. My preference for feeding water to all the machines in the shop is something that I also did in the shop build video. You can see here we have a valve. There's another one over here. And this is PEX that goes to a valve, which goes to a lock line hub, which has individual valves on it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with lock line, this is lock line. Okay, so this is a flexible line that you can feed. Primarily it's used for coolant, for like CNC machines, that type of thing. But this is what I prefer to use because you can see back there, it's just a nice, easy way without having to deal with, you know, silicone tubes and vinyl, and it gets hard and, you know, over time, and it's barbed and all of that stuff. This is pretty simple. So I'm going to connect one from here to the 140 and this one over here to the 220, and it should be pretty good. You do need this little kind of tool. Well, you don't need it, but it helps a lot. So we're just going to go like this, and we can make a much longer one. Wait, socket end up. Helps if I read. Reading helps. Just like that, and we'll snap it together, and now we have a watertight connection, and that will go from like here over to here. I have a big old collection of different nozzles and stuff, and I'm going to go with these nozzles right here, and they're just going to fit in like that, and at any time I can pull them out, take the hood off, make adjustments, do whatever I like. Gotta get it all dialed in just perfect. I might do a dripper shield here, like a piece of felt touching it, but not bad. Need a little more water. Yeah, you can see my little strip right there. We want to smooth that out. Not bad, not bad. This is just a, I don't even know where this came from, test rock. It's my little test rock that I have out here. Shut the water off here, and we'll switch over to the other wheel, the 140. Nice. And it performs exactly as they did on the other arbor. Yeah, I gotta get a little water spreader. So that'll look like this, kind of pressed up against there, which isn't bad. That's one option. I do have water coming down this right now, and it just kind of smooths it out and holds it up against the wheel. So that is one option that we can, of course, do. Shut this off. That's one option. The other option is to change out the little dripper with a wide nozzled dripper like I have over on the 3-inch. There's actually a 3-inch wide version of this, and it's up inside here like that. And you can kind of see this will disperse the water over a much wider portion of the wheel. That might be a project for another day. I hope you both enjoyed this video as well as learned something about lapidary, these lapidary machines. It's not scary to build them yourself. You can save some significant money if you do so, and have a nice fun shop that is very custom to your needs and what you want. And you know, for me, these arbors, I love them. I personally find them to be better than a cab machine. You get tons of space, they're more affordable, tons of more options. You know, but you have to put some work in. This video took several months to produce, and that was after acquiring all of my parts. So, you know, obviously everything takes longer when you're filming, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, go check out Patreon. There's a lot of great stuff over there. Tons of exclusive videos that you've never seen before, and maybe I saved you a couple of bucks. Well, take care, everybody, and I'll catch you in the next video.